All right, so once we have all of these grouped together, so no matter where I grab these now, the whole thing will be grouped as one. I'm just going to select all my letters and hit P as in Paul to send those all to the middle of my page. All right, so again, once you don't have to select it, you don't have to group it all like that. You can hold shift and select them individually. But once we hit P on our keyboard, it will center them all to the center of our page. So the next thing I'm going to do is just line it up. So I have my E, and while I'm lining this up, I'm holding shift to move them. That way it keeps it even in line with the text. So if I move it left to right, it will stay on that path, and if I go up or down, it will stay on that path as well. So if I let go of shift, I can move it wherever I want. If I hold it, it will only let me go immediately left and right or straight up and down. So we'll just scoot that over a little bit there, and I'll take my L and then just move that up there as well. So we can arrange these later too if needed. If we need to scoot the L and the V over a little, we can do that towards the end of the design as well. So with this text, we could do it a couple different ways to add another color. Since this is a really blocky text, it's almost easier just to add another island to the outside to get us a second color. So let me ungroup this real quick. If I wanted to, I could go around my whole design and just change the color of the outside to get my second color. Keep it all the same. But again, it's going to take a little bit of work. It's not a huge design, so you're not going to spend too much time doing it. But with our wizard, we can just take our letter, group it back together, and use our island fill. So we're going to do one island to the outside. We're going to add stones. We're going to do a contour of 0.09. And once that's all set up, we'll leave the corner detect on since there are corners. And we'll hit island fill. So just like that, we're able to throw an island, a different color around our design. The only real area that might need work is this right here, but that's just a quick nudge. Otherwise, our design looks pretty good as is. And if we wanted to, we could even try to fix that with just by going up and down on those arrows. So I hit down once, and it just kind of moved the problem down a little bit. So we'll just manually replace that. And so you're just going to continue that process on each letter. So we're just going to add one island to the outside of each letter. And again, so right now with this L and V, we can tell that it's a little bit close together. So what we can do is just grab the V and E, just so we know that they're lined up, and just nudge it using our keyboard arrows. So I can just bring it down a little bit, add a little space in between there, and now it doesn't look as crammed. So once we have that complete, we can just clear our path. So I'm highlighting my entire design and just hitting clear path on our wizard. So now you'll see all those lines go away, and now I can edit my stones however they need. So with just a quick nudge, that's all cleaned up, and we'll realign these and just do a respace. So the respace tool is great if you're have any gaps in your rhinestones like this where the last two is just a little bit more space, but instead of you trying to just nudge each one down to try to clean it up that way, what we're able to do is just select a group of stones on the same line, hit our respace, and then it cleans that up just like that. So if you guys need to see any of these processes again or have any questions about what any of the tools we're using, go ahead and let us just send me a question and I'll see those, and then I can go over any steps that you want to see again. So here we have an area that has a lot of overlapping stones. So one way to clean those up is just selecting all the same color stones because those are the ones overlapping and hitting my merge overlap. So just like that, it will clean that up. And now we can just edit a few stones rather than, you know, that whole area. So just like that, we clean that area up there. And let's see if we can fill that in there. So honestly, these stones overlapping a little bit will probably still work out okay because there's different color stones, and even though they're slightly overlapping, when we lay them down with the pre-cut templates or Canvas machine, they should be fine since they're different colors. So we'll go ahead and leave that like that, just so it has a little breakthrough there. And if we really wanted to, we could respace everything, but like I said, it's going to work fine the way it's set up, so we're not going to worry about that. And then we'll just go to our E and fix that up. So just little quick tools when we're working with filling in objects. If we have two stones like this where we want to fill this area, on our edit tab on the wizard, we have a fill between two. So you just click two stones. So I'll select my one on the left, hold shift, select my one on the right, hit fill between, and then it'll just fill those stones for me. So it's just a lot less editing, and it just fills it perfectly for it. It's perfectly spaced. So there's really not, you're not going to spend too much time editing. So again, not a lot of editing. And if it is, it's just one clicking a button to fix it. So now we have the outline completed on our design. So now we're just going to add the shamrock. So if you guys use the magic patterns at all, um, a lot of them that we have already come with designs incorporated into the pattern. So one of our big patterns is our holiday set, and that comes with, I think it's about 8 or 9 different holiday packs. So that's the one we're going to use to steal our vector from. Let me go ahead and find that. All right, so right here on our right hand side, you'll see our magic patterns. Um, if you want to get a bigger view of your patterns, you have this little toolbar here. So if I slide it to the right, the patterns will enlarge. If I slide it to the left, they'll get smaller and you can fit more patterns in that area. So to get our patterns, I'm just going to draw a box, a rectangle box, and I'm going to make it about 15 inches wide. And I'm going to select my St. Patrick's Day term magic pattern. So you'll see it's going to fill out this little box with the magic pattern that we selected. So you'll see a lot of the objects or text repeat. So the way these magic patterns are set up is that each one of them are pretty much a block like that, and then afterwards it will just start repeating itself over and over again. So as you can see though, there's a lot of clip art in this design that we could technically take from it. So to do that, we'll use our Smart Fill tool. So if you're working in a different version than Corel Draw X8, you might have to, this the symbol should be the same with the Smart Fill tool. It just might be in a different location. So it's just going to have like a thing of paint, a paint can almost spilling over with this little bar underneath it. Yeah, so the magic pattern, if you have the new version, someone asked if it's a Docker. So yeah, you will have the magic pattern down here, and you can hit this little button right to the right, and it'll open up your Docker, so you can see all your patterns a little bit easier. You can still scroll through them this way as well, but it's a lot easier to view them all through here. And to get to that Docker on the new version, you can just hit your little Docker area up here, and it'll drop down magic patterns and monograms in your live template editor. So that's a little shortcut for all your new Dockers. But again, if you're working in a different version than the 4.0, you'll still have your magic patterns down here where you can open the magic patterns Docker with this little button on the right hand side. So to use the smart fill, all you have to do is click smart fill tool and then just hit the object that you want to smart fill. So the object does have to be completely closed. If it's not, this won't work correctly. So in this case, the shamrock that we're viewing here is a closed object. So when I click in it, it will automatically just fill that object. And now I have a shamrock. So someone asked if we could just hit break apart instead of just using the smart fill. So if we hit break apart, it's going to break it into a lot of different layers, but yeah, you can take it from that way too. You're just going to have a lot of open layers and might just be a little bit easier to smart fill. But either way, you can do it. So if you want to break apart, let me show you how to do that real quick. So when we have our object here, go back one more. So now it's all as one. On your TRW toolbar, you'll have this little box with the arrows going diagonally away from each other. That's going to be your break apart shortcut, or you can hit Control K, or you can even come to Object and Break Apart. With the break apart, like I said, you'll have to maybe move a couple layers, or you can just sometimes just grab exactly what you need. But sometimes there might be like a small layer on top where you just have to delete a couple things first. But afterwards, we can really grab whatever we want and save the clip art that way as well. So with these magic patterns, there's a lot of different ones we offer. So, if you have time, check those out as well. And again, with a lot of these, there's sports templates too, dog paws, a lot of different holiday ones. So you can really take a lot of these clip arts and use them to incorporate into your design. So exactly what we're doing here, you guys are able to do with any of these magic patterns. So all we're going to do now is just rearrange our clover. And we can rotate it any way we want. So if we want it going a little bit that way or a little bit away, either way, it's up to you. So we'll just rotate it a little bit like that. And once we have it set up, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to add one row to the outside. So we'll do one island, add stones, 0.09. With this one, we'll try it with a contour angle first, our corner detect angle. And if it looks good, we'll use it. If not, we can try it without. So actually, we'll just do both here. So the first one we'll do a corner detect. So I just hit island fill. And that looks pretty good. There's a little overlapping stones in the tight area, but that's okay. That's an easy fix. And then we'll do the same thing without the corner detect. Almost gives us the same results, but it's a little bit more crammed in these areas. So we'll go with the corner detect. And again, we'll just highlight our area, clear our pass. And now I can edit my design. So a quick way again to merge, sometimes with these stones here, it might be easier just to end up looking nicer if we just nudge them over just a little bit. But for a design like this, or when we have these two stones that are almost on top of each other, if we just highlight them both and hit the merge, it really cleans that up without having to edit too much. So again, with these two here, you can just hit the merge and then it goes in there really nicely. And with the respace again, the respace is, if you're working with stones, it's really going to be one of your most useful tools. And it really makes the design look better and saves you a lot of time. So again, to respace it, I'm going to start with a stone, hold shift, and just select the path that I want to respace. So just because that's really close right there, I'm just going to go through this entire line, hit my respace, and now that's all perfectly spaced together and looks a lot cleaner. And sometimes the wizard just might not be able to go all the way up in this area, but realistically we can put stones all the way up there. and make this design look really good. So in a case like this where the stone should have enough room to adhere to the product we're pressing it to, but if you're really not sure or you're uncertain, we can even double click on our shamrock and fix the nodes around this area just to give it a little bit extra room. So we don't want to edit too much because we want to keep the shape of the shamrock, but just by moving it just a little bit, now we don't have to worry about, the stones getting too close to the vinyl or anything like that. So we'll just repeat this process. Let's go ahead and nudge those ones rather than merge. And we'll just bring this in here a little bit. We're not going to go all the way down on this one. It just gets a little too tight, but it's still going to look a little bit better by going further down. So same thing here. Might be too little room. So instead we'll just move that there and then bring these down here. And then we just have to adjust the top. So again, it's not too much editing. Just bring that down here and grab both these stones, go to my edit and fill between two. So a lot of quick editing. If you don't like the spacing, we can change that as well with just a few clicks. Hit my respace. That's still on a path, so clear that first. So someone asked how I'm adding stones. So in this area here, let's clear these out. One way to add stones quickly with a quick copy and paste is if you left click and hold, you can move these stones around wherever you want. But if I just left click, hold, and then release, it's going to move those stones. But in the process, if you left click, hold, and then just right click, I'm still holding down on the left side, you'll see this little plus box come up underneath my arrow key. So that's going to tell you that you just made a copy of whatever you're holding. And then when I let go now, it will just drop wherever I want to. So again, I left click and hold. So now I can move this stone wherever I want. And when I right click and release, it will add that plus sign. And now when I let go of the left hand side, I can add these stones just in a line. So instead of using Control V or Control C then Control V or trying to make duplicate copies, or we even have this freehand drop with the stone. It's a little bit hard to use that to know exactly to line it up perfectly. So that's why I like just using the quick left click, right click. So it's left click and hold. You're holding the left click the whole time, and then you just do a quick right click, and then when I'm ready to drop the stone, I just let go. So again with this, and to select multiple stones in a path, instead of trying to like highlight a certain area, I can just left click, hold shift, and then click on the path that I want to edit. So then when I hit my respace, you'll see all that get fixed there, just like that. I had one extra stone in there, so let's fix that first. And if you're not sure about overlapping stones, you can always select all the same stones and merge overlapping, and that will guarantee that there's no extra stones hidden under any of your stones. Because when we get to these corner areas, the wizard's sometimes going to layer more stones on top of the corner. So we'll do it once this way and then start a new path. So by starting a new path, it's going to drop 2 stones sometimes in those corner places. So when you're working, just to show you the error I got, let me go back just a couple steps. So there's actually 2 stones right on top of this design right here. But again, we couldn't see that. And when I went to do my respace, it kind of throws stuff off, and now you'll see that this stone has 2 there. So again, just to get rid of all those at the beginning, you can merge, overlap all your stones, and then you don't have to worry about any of those issues. So from here, we're just going to color coordinate our design to however we want it to look. For this particular design, let's do the black and white. So I'll just go ahead and ungroup my entire design. Select one of the black stones, hit select all same color on my design wizard, change those to white, and then we'll select all these, and I'll change those to white. My blue will become green, and my shamrock will be green as well. Right. So now when we're ready, we can put this design on a black background, on a product to show our customers, whatever you guys typically use. And then we have our design. So does anyone have any questions about the first design we created? I think we're all good. Awesome. So we'll go ahead and go to the next design. So the next one we're going to do is all vector. And again, we're just using TRW true type fonts to create these designs. So the next one we're going to do is another St. Patrick's Day themed design, and it's going to be called Let's Get Ready to Stumble. Yep, so someone asked if this video will be posted somewhere. Once we're done with the video, we'll edit it and then put it up on our YouTube channel, and it will always be in your history of the webinar. So you'll be able to go through this video and create it yourself or go over any points that we went over. You can view it at a later time. So with our second design, since it's a lot of text, I used to get in the habit of writing each word out separately. So you do let's and then get and then ready, and so it's time consuming. So one of the cool things about the wizard font tab now is the break apart, and it's a little bit different from using the what we did to break apart the magic patterns. It just breaks apart the text by each word. So we'll do let's get ready to stumble. So I can just type out my entire text, everything I know that I'm going to use, and I'll make that a little bit larger. And let's move this out of the way as well. So when I open up my design wizard font tab, at the top you'll see this B. So this B is going to break apart our text, and it breaks apart, if you're working with multiple words, it will break apart each word into separate, into its own text. If you're using just one word and you hit break apart, it will break up each individual letter for you. So for this design, we're going to use stumble as one text, and then we're going to get let's get ready to in our other text. So the first text for let's get ready to, we'll use TRW athletic, I believe it's 2. Yep. So we'll do TRW athletic 2. Now when I switch this text, you can kind of see the spacing on it change a little bit, but it's perfectly in line. So if I hold shift and I move my text, it's going to keep it in line, so I don't have to worry about it being, the get being raised higher than let's, or vice versa. So again, I can just line up my text, and once it's ready to my liking, I can group it together. So now it's all going to stay in that shape. The space between won't change unless I ungroup and rearrange the letters or text. So first thing we'll do is use our envelope to shape our text. Now, has anyone used the envelopes before? I heard someone say they lost audio. Is anyone else having trouble with the audio? Is everyone able to hear? Okay. Becca, are you able to hear me okay? Awesome, awesome. All right, everyone's good. Thanks, guys. So with this, we're going to use the envelope feature. When we're using text, It's not going to work as well with the rhinestone text because it works differently, especially with the shapes of the circles of each rhinestone. So using the envelope feature is a little bit different with the rhinestone text. However, with any vinyl text, it works great, and you can find that under your effects and envelope, and it will just open up a little docker here on the right hand side. So we're just going to go through a quick envelope. Next week, I believe it's next Thursday or Friday, I'm actually doing another free webinar on the envelope feature itself. So we'll go into a little bit more next week on the envelope feature, all the different things you can do with it. For now, I'm just going to show you how to quickly use it to shape our text. So once we select, when we originally open up our envelope, you'll see add new, add preset. It's not, doesn't give us an option to add new or anything yet. Once I select my text or my object that I want to use an envelope on, you'll see add new. So once that pops up, I'll go ahead and click add new, and I'm going to use this middle option, the single arc. So real quick, someone asked if we could adjust the space between each letter, or do you have to ungroup everything? So right now, I have 4 different text boxes grouped together. If I ungroup those, then each one will be its own text. And in this state, I can adjust the text spacing on my wizard. So by hitting this text spacing this way, it will increase the spacing between each letter. By going back, I can make each letter get closer together. However, but if it's all grouped together as one text, even though there's 4 different text boxes, technically, you won't be able to use this text spacing tool. However, you can use the text spacing tool on 2 objects. So if I have these both grouped together, or not grouped, but selected, I can hit the text spacing. But if it's grouped, it's not going to read it correctly. So just ungroup, and then you can use this text spacing and really adjust the letters either wider, closer together, however you want the design to look. So I'm just going to group that, and I'm actually going to increase the height just a little bit on this design. And so that's set up good. And now we'll go to envelope. So I selected my text, and you'll see add new pop up. So I go ahead and hit add new. And now we're going to see this box come around my design. It's going to be a little bit of a blue box, and it's going to have these boxes in the middle, on the edges, and then the middle on the sides as well. So with this specific envelope, I'm going to arc it to the top. So if I hold control on my keyboard and select this bottom box and lift up, whatever I do to the bottom, it's going to do it to the top. So it's just going to give me a nice arc like that in my text. So just like that. And for this design, I'm going to add an outline or a second color. So just like we were doing when I was making this design down here, and I was copying with my stones. Let me ungroup it real quick. We're using this to fill, and I was just left clicking, holding, right clicking, and releasing to copy. We're going to use that same feature up here, same technique, to add a second color behind our design. So I'm just going to move this a little bit over, right click, release, and it's going to add a second copy. So right now it's the same color, so it's a little bit hard to see what it did. So when we change this to green, now you'll see how it adds that shadow effect to our design. So if we want the shadow to the right and behind, we can do it that way. If we want it to the left and maybe on top a little, we can do it that way. However you like the shadow to be set up, we can set it up for you. So we'll kind of use it like that. Maybe we'll go a little bit less, just so you can kind of get that shadow effect for our design. All right, so yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but again, you're just going to left click and hold, and when I'm holding, you're going to see the outline of your text. So those blue lines you see are actually the cut lines that a cutter would read when it's used, when you send this to a cutter. So when we have this, when you left click and hold, you'll see this. When you're still holding down on the left hand side, if I right click at the same time, you'll see this little plus box come under my arrow. That's telling you that you just made a copy of whatever you have selected. Now when I finally let go, it will add that copy wherever I let go. So instead of you grabbing this, hitting control and then V to get a copy, you can just move it, right click, let go, and get it that way. So with this design, I'm going to steal the shamrock here. So I just selected it, brought it up here, and now I'm going to right click. And when I let go of the left side, it will just drop my shamrock right there. So I can resize that. And so now I'm starting to get my design set up, and now we're going to change my stumble text. So this is, we have a huge selection of text, definitely with rhinestones, but we do have a nice selection of HTV or vinyl fonts as well. And one of my favorite is the HTV distressed, not the distressed. Here we go. It's the athletic distressed. So we'll change that. So right now I'm in all capitals. So let me switch that real quick. So you see how just when I hit this, it shows up stumble fine. And then when I go to my TRW athletic distressed, it doesn't show up anything. Well, if we look here, you'll see that it's lowercase. That's showing us how it looks. So you actually have to change your font to lowercase, and then you'll see your text fine. So someone asked if the envelope function will work on images as well as text. So yeah, you can use the envelope feature on different objects as well. It won't necessarily have the same effect because it might change up the object a little bit more or change the shape. So, with the shamrocks look a certain way. If I try to add an envelope to the bottom, it's going to scrunch that and look like a dead flower or something like that. So, you can use the envelope on objects as well or images. It's just you might not always have the desired look that you're going for. So with this text, we can just bring it up to our shamrock, and to get it to the front, if I go to my wizard and hit the F key, it will just put that in front of my shamrock. And let's go ahead and center up our design. So does anyone remember how we center everything to the middle of our work page? Yep, Cheryl, Adina, thank you, thank you. Yep. So we just hit the letter P on our keyboard. So we'll just group our text together, so that's all together. And then each of these are going to be its own object. So I'm just going to highlight all three together and hit P. So that just centers everything like that. Now I can just raise my get ready to text to the top and line up my stumble however I want on my shamrock. So I just increase the text just a little bit, the height. And now once I have this text, I'm going to weld it together so it's reading it as an object rather than a text. And then I'm just going to go back to my place and fill and add an outline around this design. No, someone asked did I hold left. When I centered everything, I don't hold anything. I just center it with the letter P. And then to increase the text, I just dropped it down like that, just manually with it. You can grab the height, the box at the bottom and top, and you can adjust the height of the text. So with these texts too, it can be when you first look at this kind of text, it looks like, wow, this is going to be really hard to weed. Is it even worth the time? But the great thing about this text, it's already set up, so it's going to weed out everything on its own. There's no like little holes inside this area that you have to weed out. Everything goes through the entire text, so it does make it a lot easier to weed. You won't have these little pieces and stuff like that. So keep that in mind with these type of texts when we create them. you know, we've been there. We don't want to weed out all these little tiny pieces, so we set them up for you so that you won't have to go through that process. So again, we're just going to add one island to the outside. We'll try about 0.15 first. We're not going to add stones. We're not going to hit corner detect. We're just going to hit island fill. Okay, so let's make a couple copies of these and see what you guys think looks the best. So with this is a pretty large island around the outside. So all I'm going to do is select my new island, hold shift and select my text, and I will do a back minus front. To cut that out. So definitely probably a little bit too much on this one. Let's redo it and we'll make this only 0.10 island fill. Again, maybe a little bit too much. Let's do 0.05. I think this is going to look a little bit better. Back minus front, and let's switch those out. All right, so now we have our design set up. Now we're just going to rearrange the text or the colors to fix our design. So you can kind of see by adding the larger the contour, the more it's going to pull out of that shamrock. So with that design, you definitely want to make it a little bit smaller. You kind of lose the shamrock in the background on the first one, but the second one, you can see stumble and read that very clearly, or you kind of get that, stumble vibe from it, and then you still clearly see the shamrock as well. So we'll go ahead and delete our left one. And now we'll just edit the text to, however we want the shirt to look. So if we like it black and green, you can go ahead and use it like that. If you want to change it to white as well, we can just, first thing we'll do is just ungroup everything, and then we can just change our text around. So we'll just make the background, we'll make all the black white, and throw it on a black background, and now we have our design. So does anyone have any questions about using the TrueType fonts with the design wizard to create some of these designs? Yeah, so someone wanted to see what it would look like when we were going to cut it. So with the background, even though we did that distress, there's really not too many small areas in here. And if you really wanted to, we could kind of get rid of some of these small pieces because it's really not going to get lost in the stumble, and it might just be a little easier to it's still not going to matter when you weed it because you don't have to like pick those pieces out. It's still going to weed around it, but sometimes it's just, if it's a small design, those pieces might be a little bit irritating. But let me go back and put that in there, and let's just weld the light colors together. So I have those two chosen. And I'm just selecting all the white text right now and welding that together because that's going to be one piece. And then I'm going to do the same with the green text. Let's just bring this to a new page real quick. Yep, so someone asked if this is going to be recorded. All of our webinars will be recorded so you can view at a later time. It does take up to 24 to 48 hours to edit and get them up on YouTube for you guys, but they will be there as quickly as we can. So let's go ahead and I'll add the background again just to make sure it's set up right. And now we can create our templates. That's how it's going to be separated for you. So again, it's just going to go right through all that. It's just going to be a nice little easy pool. And if you guys look up distress videos, we'll show you examples of how we've already used this font and different designs and really how easy it is to weed. So don't, like I said, don't get too discouraged because it looks like it's a big weeding process. It's going to come out just in one nice weed. So check out the video on that as well. Guys, you guys have been great. Thank you so much for all your questions. If you run into any of these problems when you're working with our designs, don't hesitate to give us a call at 941-755-1696 or shoot us an email at info@therhinestoneworld.com. Again, you guys have been great and you guys have a great weekend.